YouTube, how's it going? The Goat House is back with some more free agency predictions. We did a lot of these videos on a lot of different free agents and trade targets. And now we're on to Ndamukong Suh. Where will he go? So I'm by myself in this video. Usually we have multiple guys with me give their prediction, but so this one should be a little easier. Actually, I'm going to go one by one, remove teams until we have my final prediction. I'm going to start with the least likely to land him and go to the most likely to land Ndamukong Suh. So we'll see. We got a lot of teams on the board that could use him. Definitely could make an offer, but, you know, most of these teams probably won't. And there's teams that are definitely, there's a few teams I think have a good chance of landing him. So it's going to be tough to pick one team here. Right before we get started, check out our Twitter and our Instagram. Links in the description for both. Top of the description is our Twitter. Brings you to the fan-voted mock draft as well. That's pinned on our profile. You can vote for each pick, and then we make a video at the end once the voting's all done. So a lot of fun there. Please give us a follow. Back to Suh. Let's start with, again, I think all these teams, they could use them and they can make an offer, but, I have to, figure out who are the teams that are most likely going to go from. So I'm going to remove the Patriots first. They've shown that from what we think since they traded for Bennett, and that most likely means they don't want to pay Flowers. So they don't really want to pay the guys. They think they can win the cheap route. And they've done that in the past. And they can do it some more. And so I don't know if they go out and pay Suh. It's really tough to know how much he wants. But I don't know if they'll go out and pay him. I guess since they don't have to pay Flowers, they can pay somebody. But it's kind of going towards Michael Bennett there. So I'm going to take off the Patriots. They definitely can use him. He definitely would fit. And next, I'm going to take off the Colts. They have the cap space. They could use him. And maybe I'm wrong, but I think the Colts kind of made, almost like a statement, to what kind of character they're looking at in players. They've kind of came out and said they may not be interested in Le'Veon Bell, guys like that, guys like Antonio Brown. So they're kind of building the standard over there, and I really like it. So I don't know if they'll, Suh's been okay on the field, but I don't know if it's their type of guy. They definitely can make an offer. If they have the cap space, they can get better with them. So I could be wrong, but that's just my feeling on them. Next, I'll remove the Raiders. Another team. All these teams can make an offer. A lot of them have the cap room. But for the reason I'm removing the Raiders is because I'm kind of predicting them to go elsewhere. I think, most likely they're trading for Antonio Brown. We think. I'm kind of waiting for a wild card team to show up, and that's who trades for him. I'm starting to think Le'Veon Bell can go meet up with Antonio Brown there because, again, they're rumored to be interested in him. They have the cap space. Antonio Brown's there. We're kind of removing some teams as we go here off the board for Le'Veon Bell, a team like the Chiefs who's more interested in Carlos Hyde because they want to spend their money on defense. But the Eagles may be back into play because they cut Michael Bennett's contract. But Le'Veon Bell, very possible he can go with Antonio Brown or the Raiders, so that takes some more cap space off. I think they'll be in play for a guy like Anthony Barr and Clinton Dix. I think they'll be very interested in. I think they can land him too. So that still leaves them with some cap space, but you don't want to go out and spend every penny of it, So they're going to get some other guys that are a little smaller on the contracts too. So that's kind of just me predicting. But they very well can end up with Suh, if they don't go for some of the other guys. Next, I'll take off the Niners. Another team with cap room. But, they kind of like their interior D-line. If they are going to add one, I think it's going to be a young piece. Maybe they could be interested in a big-time safety like Earl Thomas. They possibly could be looking for another linebacker. Talked about Anthony Barr, but it's a possibility. I think maybe on the offensive side, a receiver or running back. I think they're more in play for players like that. And if they're going to go D-line, I think it's going to be young. Maybe an edge rusher, they would bring in a veteran. It's just my feeling on that. But, yeah, I think their first thing is I think they look at Earl Thomas first, and that's who I predicted to get Earl Thomas was the Niners. Next, we'll go with the Jets. Yeah, now we're starting to get to the teams where it's really hard to pick who to take off. I think the Jets can do it. I just heard recently they're interested in Anthony Barr. I keep bringing up his name, but they're going to be interested in big-time guys like that. Maybe more interested in edge rushers, guys that can play the linebacker position. And then they need receivers, possibly Le'Veon Bell for running back. So I don't know if their priorities are set on Suh, but they have the cap space where their priorities can be set on multiple guys. So it's a possibility. I just like some of these other teams a little better for him. A good thing about Suh is he can play in either defense, 4-3-3-4. Next, I'll take off the Cardinals. That would be a good fit. I think he could fit in right there, replace a couple guys. Kim Dichie's not really working out. but I just like some of these other teams here. I just like them a little more. So I had to take him off. The Chargers will be next. I would like him on the Chargers. I think it would be a good fit. They're going to be looking for, they just released a die, so they're going to be looking for, I think, a top-tier safety in this free agency class. Now, which one, it's tough to say, but they could be looking for one of those guys. Could Earl Thomas be a possibility? That's going to take a good cap hit, but they have it now. So I think they'll be looking for that. They do need D linemen and possibly linebackers too. So it's a possibility. There's a couple D linemen that I really like for the Chargers, but for them to actually do it, again, possibility. That's why they're on here. But I just like some of these other teams a little more. Similar situation is with the Bengals, who I'll take off next. I think he would be perfect next to Geno Atkins. And I think that they'll like him next to Geno Atkins. I just think some of these other teams are a little more appealing, and it just, I think it's just more likely. Got to split hairs at this point. And next, I will take off the Cowboys. The Cowboys definitely need interior D-line. They're supposed to be looking for a safety. They could use another edge rusher, opposite of DeMarcus Lawrence, and they got to extend him. So they kind of got a lot to do. They have some cap space, but not a whole lot to maybe make moves like this. Still possible, but back to my point that I like some of these other teams just a little more, but possible. And again, similar situation. The Texans, I think they can use him, and they can play him at the nose spot. They've been missing, that type of player there, and I think they can make an offer. It makes sense that they would make an offer here, but their focus also could be on a guy like Tyrann Mathieu or his replacement. So they're going to be focused on that stuff first. They already came out and said they're looking for another edge rusher. Could they be a wild card team and a big-time offensive player? Maybe Lamar Miller's not part of their future. They said that he was, but how long? So could they be looking for another running back? Is Foreman good to go? A lot of questions there, so I'll take them off next. And then we're going to go to the Dolphins. I would love the fit here going back there, but does he actually go back there? They need interior D-line. It's different coaches, so I think it's possible. They cleared some cap space. They just brought in Dwayne Allen. I think they're going to go for Trey Flowers, so that kind of limits them to be able to go for Ndamukong Suh. So we'll take them off the board next, and left with 6 teams. Now, this next team I'm going to take off, it's going to be the Vikings, and it's very interesting because, you see on Twitter that he's flying to Minnesota right now, he says, which is very interesting. Could it be to talk to the Vikings? You're not supposed to be talking to teams now, but you never know what the teams are actually up to. But I don't think it is. I don't think it has to do with the Vikings. It's kind of weird that he's going there, but they're limited on the cap. Yeah, they can make some cuts or trades that would get them there, but I think they would rather have Sheldon Richardson back. I think Suh is kind of in between the play style of who they have already, Linval Joseph and Sheldon Richardson. So I think they would rather have Richardson next to Linval Joseph. And again, I don't think they have the cap, but they could make some moves. So I think, it's very interesting to think about here. I do think he would be good in Zimmer's defense, but I don't think it actually happens. But something interesting to keep an eye on. The Falcons would be next. The reason they're up here for so long is because I just really love the fit. I like him next to Grady Jarrett a lot, and I think they will too. They've been looking for that type of guy there, and I think Suh could be that guy. But I just see something. I think these other teams might be a little more interested, or not a little more interested. I think a little more appealing to him, maybe contract-wise, I should say. A team I'm going to take off next is going to – this is where it gets tough. These 4 teams, really the Falcons you can add with them too, I think are very, very realistic. I say this. I'm going to take out the Seahawks next. They were interested in getting him last year, so that's why they're up here. They don't have a lot of draft picks either, so they could look to free agency to get some of these guys. It's definitely a strong possibility. You just kind of got to go with my gut feeling at this point. And next, I'm going to take off the Browns because, I think they could be interested. They have the cap, and they can use an interior D-line guy. I think they look for, more of the young players, though, most likely. But, again, they're up here this long for a reason. So I think the Browns, the Seahawks definitely can get him. Like the Seahawks, the Titans were very interested in him. I just see him there. I think the Rams will want him back. I see him on the Titans. They were interested a year ago. I think they will still be interested.
They've been rumored to maybe even be involved and try to trade for some veteran guys, but I think they'd rather hang on to their draft picks since, they only drafted 4 guys last year. They need more of a haul. With your cap space, you don't have a bunch of guys you really need to resign. I think they'll resign Vaccaro. I think you go out and fill this need here. It makes a lot of sense. It makes a lot. I do like Preston Smith for them, too. I think they can give a shot at Preston Smith. The Rams would like him back. It's tough to pick between these two teams. Really, between the Browns, the Seahawks, even the Falcons, too. The Vikings could be a very interesting one. But these are my top 2 teams. And if I had to pick here, I do like the Titans for them. But if I had to pick, I'm going to say going back to the Rams. So a little boring there, but I'm kind of borderline. I'm kind of deciding at the moment. A lot of times I'm doing these videos, kind of made up my mind before. This one's that close where I'm deciding right now. But the reason I'm leaning towards them is because they signed Eric Weddle as their safety. I thought they would go a little bigger, bigger spender in the safety department. So they didn't have to spend that much. And that could give them room to, and they already had good cap space. That could give them room to, out of Suh, Fowler, Saffold, I'd like to think they bring 2 of the 3 back. So I think there's a high probability. I'm kind of playing that game right here. I think there's a high probability it goes to the Rams. But again, I really like the Titans, Browns, Seahawks too. I really like the Titans. I'm kind of back and forth right now. I think the Titans are a possibility. Him with Jarrell Casey. They can draft another guy. They can draft a pass rusher next to Harold Landry. And maybe they can do more than just get Suh in free agency. Like I said, Preston Smith. Man, they can really get this thing going right here. I do like the Titans a lot. More I'm talking, I kind of want to pick the Titans, but the Browns are definitely a possibility. Just like the Titans, the Seahawks were interested last year. I love the fits for teams like the Falcons, the Texans, the Cowboys can be in the market. I like the fit for the Bengals. So it's very interesting. That's my thoughts. I just want to hear your guys' thoughts in the comment too. Very interested. We did a lot of these videos, not for free agents only, for trade targets. I had a bigger video, free agency video, where I was predicting the landing spots for guys we didn't get to do in these. So check all that out. Also a video with the best fit, realistic fit for each team. So multiple free agency videos and plenty of draft coverage too. And as soon as free agency starts to get going, we're going to have more draft coverage. We got 7-round mocks coming up for each team. We got the fan voted mock draft on our Twitter. Lots going on here. A lot going on. I love this time of year for the NFL. So we got you covered with free agency, the draft, in season even. So give us, subscribe. Click that subscribe button if you haven't yet, because we got plenty of coverage here. Clicking that like button and notification button, we much appreciate it as well. But that's going to do it for this one. Thanks, everybody, for watching. Goodbye.